Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. I think it would be great if we took a look at some vintage games. Not just games that have come out recently, but games that came out decades ago. People often use the word retro incorrectly. They refer to vintage gaming as retro. Retro is something that is new, that is attempting to style match and evoke the memory of something that is vintage. On the further end of that, we also have classic gaming. A classic game would be a game that is deemed to have great value above what is just typically standard. So let's go ahead and take a look at some vintage gaming. I want to take a look at the remaster for Chrono Cross, and my dog wanted to hang out. I was trying to close up the door to my studio, and my dog just wanted to hang out with me. Come on, Logan. Up. Logan, come on. Let's take a look at Chrono Cross. Now, I have only ever played a couple hours of Chrono Cross. I remember going to a friend's house when I was a teenager, and they had Chrono Cross, and they had a character on the status screen. They were listed as omnidextrous, not ambidextrous, omnidextrous. And that stuck with me, and I've been using that word ever since then. Let's go ahead and boot up Chrono Cross. I picked up the remaster on Nintendo Switch eShop. It's on sale right now for a great price. So if you do want to pick up Chrono Cross, check it out there. Right off the bat, this is an attention to detail that I like very much. There is no reason for the developers of this to include slot 1 and slot 2. And if you are not of a particular age, you would not understand why this is here. The PlayStation had 2 slots for physical memory cards. And in the long days past, you had to get your parents to purchase you a physical memory card, dick it into the PlayStation, and you had 2 slots in there. Some games actually use that, so your friend can bring over the memory card and you guys could fight each other or join each other's game. I do really like that there is an autosave as well, which is fantastic. It's great to see that, especially since this is running on the Switch, and sometimes your battery can just die before you get to a save point. So having the autosave there shows that these developers actually cared about what they were doing. Immediately right off the bat, we'll go into Arnai Village. Arnai Village? Arnold. We'll go into Arnold Village. And this is a very different situation from Final Fantasy IX Remaster. And I'm going to keep bringing up Final Fantasy IX because I recently purchased that and I was not happy with the effort that the developers put in. Not just as a gamer, I've been buying and supporting Final Fantasy for many years. For the longest time, Final Fantasy was my favorite game series. I was obsessed with Final Fantasy. And then over the last few decades, the management team behind Final Fantasy has been moving away from the things that made that series what it is. And it seems like they have focused on, with their remasters, a cheap, easy solution that does not cost them a lot, to where they can just maximize profits. And I'm not saying that the Final Fantasy IX Remaster is a cheap, lazy cash grab that shows basically no care put into it. I wouldn't say that because I think that would be really insulting to say. But what I will say is that Chrono Cross here shows the exact opposite effort of what was put into Final Fantasy IX Remaster. So let's take a look at the visual effects that the developers use for this. And I'm actually going to expand the screen a bit here because there's just so much to appreciate. So here we go. Make that just a bit bigger there. Fantastic. We are running at 4:3, but I believe there's an option. So we take a look at this visual element here. This is not a particle effect. The PlayStation in this vintage era did not have the same type of particle system technology that we have in modern game engines. This is just... Okay, for a second, I thought there were 2 pieces of geometry for a moment. You see these, I'm taking a look at the light shafts here. This one on the right and this one on the left. For a moment, I was led to believe it's just rotating. There's only 2 pieces of geometry rotating. It's a cylinder that is textured with a slightly transparent material, and it is rotating, but I don't believe that's what it is. I believe, oh, it kind of looks that way though. Oh, this is really tricky. I believe that, there's each shaft could be a long plane, each light shaft, and as it reaches a certain point, it is then warped back to this position here so it can keep looping. This looks great, and I can only assume on a CRT it would be even more convincing, but there's something very charming about this kind of primitive light shaft. It sells the image. If you keep staring at it, it's like saying the word milk. If you keep saying milk, 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 it becomes nonsense, it's like a Pontypool situation. But if you just look at the whole scene in context of everything, it just looks great, and they can reuse this technique over and over again. And this would have a very low rendering cost, and back then the rendering budget was extremely low. Something I really like, outside of the high resolution textures, it seems all of the character models, every single character has had their textures upscaled. Now, the upscaling technique they used here is totally different from the technique used in Final Fantasy IX Remaster. In Final Fantasy IX Remaster, I'm certain they just used a batch command for Photoshop, meaning they automated everything, and they just upscaled everything with a very simple bilinear filter. It means that they didn't pay attention to their work. They did not double check their work. They did not really care what the end result was because it's very lazy. And the end result for Final Fantasy IX Remaster is very unpleasant to look at. It's blurry, it's soft, and when characters are occluded by overlay layers, it is a mess because the pixels blur into the background color and it's incoherent. Whereas in this situation, I believe what they used here is an upscaler similar to if you have ever used an emulator and you turned on filters such as the HQ 2X, 3X, 4X, the Super 2X Sal, Super Eagle. Those are pixel interpretation filters that have existed for decades. We've been using them for decades now. And I believe that they used pixel interpolation upscaling. I do not believe that they used AI for this because it does not look like AI upscaling, and AI upscaling is not the same as generative AI. Those are two very different things. AI upscaling is a legitimate, definite tool that we should be using when it comes to increasing the resolution of assets that were originally quite low resolution. AI upscaling is not generative AI. It is a legitimate tool that we should be using. And that is because you are not generating nonsense. You are simply interpolating the pixels in between, you're interpolating the space between pixels with art that has already been created, with assets that have already been created. So AI upscaling is a legitimate tool, and I have seen it used. I believe it's used for Saga Frontier. If you want me to take a look at Saga Frontier, let me know. It's on sale right now. I don't know if anyone really cares about that, but if you want me to, let me know. I'll pick it up and we can discuss it on a technical level. If you want me to discuss Legend of Mana, let me know. I'll pick it up. It's on sale in the eShop right now. And I'm so pleased with the end result. Now, what is so important with this over the Final Fantasy IX Remaster, and I will put the link in the description, I was not happy that I had to say things that were negatively critical of that release, but the more I thought about it, the more irritated it made me, and the more disappointed I was, because it showed that there was either no care or no competence when it came to the Final Fantasy IX Remaster, and it's not much of a remaster, honestly. If you take a look at the harsh edges of the pot here, you can see that it matches, basically, it matches the pixel density of the 3D model of the character. So we have congruity. We have a very consistent pixel density. This shows how much time and attention and care the developers put into this. If you have a look at the pixel interpolation on the curtain here, it's not perfect. You can see it is a little bit jagged still along the outside of the curtain here, but as the character walks behind it, you can see that the developers didn't just do the lazy auto select, auto blending that was used in the Final Fantasy IX Remaster. These developers manually defined the transparent edge on this curtain so that as the character walks behind it, it maintains a consistent pixel density with the character model and everything else in the scene, and it looks pleasant as the character walks behind that. Go ahead and test this in the Final Fantasy IX Remaster, and you'll have to pardon my French here, but this is an industry term. This is what professionals use, developers use this term, artists use this term. You may not have heard of this, so this is something that you can add to your vernacular. It's butt fugly, is what Final Fantasy IX Remaster is, and I don't want to have to be negative about it, but that's an industry term. It's a technical term. Final Fantasy IX is an excellent game, fantastic. I still want to play the remaster because it's such a great game. Holy heck, look at the attention to detail. This would have come from the original game. Even the stool, you can see your shoes being occluded by those stool legs. That means they would have to have placed that stool on its own layer. And this is, wow, this is so fantastic, seeing this level of detail put into it. As the characters' value, their positional value from the camera decreases or increases, these are basically just PNG files with transparency, and the character can either, right now, see that pole, it's the overlay layer, it's not visible. Once the character passes a certain positional value, that layer is enabled. But the developers have been so careful to make sure that they don't break their own illusions. See, there's a collider here, so you can't walk too close to that. So the original developers were very careful in maintaining that illusion, because if they didn't extend that collider out, the character's body visuals can clip into that. Oh, you know what? You can see the character's glove clip into it a little bit sometimes just there, because I'm really forcing the issue. You know, I'm trying to break the illusion here, but in general, there, you saw it for a second, you saw pixel, yeah. You can see one brown pixel, a couple brown pixels, they're breaking the illusion, but that's, oh, you know what? No, it's not that. It's because there's a minor error with the transparency. There's a couple transparent pixels on that where it shouldn't be. And that is something that's so easy to miss, especially when you have a lot of work to do. So it is my job to find things like that. When you are developing a game, you have to jump in there and muck around. You have to mess around and try and find anything that could potentially be broken. The upscaling method they used here is, oh man, it is gorgeous. I hope this is recording the audio. I'd really like if the music was in here. Who knows? I'll just turn it up a little bit just in case. Let's go ahead and run around Arnie Village. Just something I want to point out here. So already we have a significantly better effort than Final Fantasy IX because of the method that they chose for the pixel interpolation for upscaling. Whatever they've used, it maintains a sharpness instead of the blurriness. Again, look at the Final Fantasy IX Remaster. It's so blurry. And I was trying to play it the other night. I was saying, you know what, I can appreciate this for what this is. And my eyes started hurting from how blurry that game is. So if we take a look at this is nice and crisp, and the visuals are very indicative of having used a pixel interpolation upscaler, and I think this was the right choice. I think this was the best choice for this situation, and I believe that the developers paid attention to the contrast and the color depth. They manually increased the texture resolution on the character models and the environments, and I believe that they paid attention to the color dynamic because every environment matches the characters in terms of the tonal contrast. You look at the lowest, darkest parts of the character models and the lowest, darkest parts of the environments. There's visual cohesion here. It feels cohesive. And in Final Fantasy IX Remaster, we don't see that. If you don't care about art that much, you may not even notice it. But overall, when I look at Final Fantasy IX Remaster, it's harsh to look at. It's very unpleasant to look at. Let's just hop over to another area. And something that I really like here again that we will compare to Final Fantasy IX Remaster. For the remaster, what they did when they display text on screen for environments is they just took the existing assets for the location names and they upscaled it by just increasing the scale size in the laziest, fastest, easiest way possible, and it results in a very unpleasant pixelated look when it's not supposed to look like that. If we have a look here, it looks like they are rendering this text in real time. This is rasterized text, and it has the highest pixel density possible, so it matches the pixel density of the rest of the game. Let's just bust open our menu here. Great, consistent pixel density. Ooh, nice high resolution text. Let's just open up my status. Nice, fantastic high resolution artwork on the character. Man, that is great artwork. Just the core artwork itself is so fantastic. I really want that omnidextrous character now. We have a little bit of flickering on that. I wonder why that was flickering. So in the original game, on the PlayStation hardware doesn't have floating point values. This 3D model, every 3D model is like connect the dots. If you've ever had one of those little coloring books where you connect the dots, 3D models are connect the dots in a 3D space. And those points are called vertices. A vertex is a single vertex, multiple vertex are vertices. And on the PlayStation, they didn't have floating point values. You had integer values, and an integer value is like a whole dollar. An integer would be $1, $2, $3, and a float value would be 150, 175, 170. So float values allow us to have decimal points, which allows us to have more pinpoint accuracy when it comes to the positions which the vertices can occupy. On the PlayStation, they didn't have floating point values, which means they had to have whole dollar values. They couldn't have 150, 175, 189. PlayStation can only have $1, $2, $3 when it comes to the position of the vertices. Whoa, cool shadow effect. What I think they've done, I think they've taken a second model of the character, just flattened one of the scale values and laid it flat. I think that's what they've done here. Great. Now, this is fascinating. I think that they're using the source code, and they've sort of upscaled from, or built up from the source code. I could be wrong, but what I see is something called Z-fighting, and I wish Z-fighting was something that was Dragon Ball related. But Z-fighting is when polygonal values or polygons have a difficult time determining which one should be rendered above the other, which one is closer to the camera, which one should be rendered above another. And I have noticed that with NPCs. You see some clipping as his hand goes in and out of his pants when it really shouldn't. This is interesting. Oh man, you know what? Oh, this is so interesting to me. What could be the cause? Let's look at as his hand clips into his pants. It's not supposed to. His hand remains above his pants. What could this mean? Could this mean? Okay, you know what this could? Oh, this is so fascinating to me. You know what I think? Oh man, I've never created a PlayStation game, so I've never had this issue, but I have had Z sorting issues or Z fighting issues with games that I created on the 3DS. That is, and it only happens at a very specific angle. These meshes could be separate, and what is happening, you see this part of the leg here is closer to the camera. The object, this part mesh, is physically closer to the camera, so it's rendering above the hand, even though it really shouldn't. We should be calculating per vertices, per vertex. And that's why per vertex shaders are so great, or per pixel. Per pixel rendering is great because we can calculate positions of pixels. I believe that this isn't able to do that, which is why we're getting the Z fighting. I spent a little longer on that than I really thought I should have. Let's go ahead and fight this baddie and see. Now, this is rendering at a higher internal resolution. We do have floating point values, but there is still jittering on the character. There's nowhere near the amount of jittering as there was on the original. And this is interesting. Have a look at the arm of the character. Sometimes you can see through it. I believe that this character is composed of multiple objects, and that is why we're getting Z fighting. Have a look at his hand and the handle there. That's why we're getting Z fighting. Z fighting. I believe that this is using the source code, and that's a quirk of the source code. And I'm actually glad to see that. I actually like seeing quirks like this because it's showing, it's, you know, it's like renovating a heritage building. You don't want to destroy the history of the building, right? You want to be able to see the history of the building to some degree. And that's what this is. Overall, the overall presentation is just fantastic. You can see holes, which means that, have a look at the head. The head, you can see that there's some holes there at certain camera angles, which means I think that this character is actually composed of multiple objects, multiple models. And on the PlayStation, the overall rendering resolution was so low that you were never able to see that. Because we have a higher internal rendering resolution, we can actually see the gaps in between the models. That may be contributing to the Z fighting. Oh man. Oh, I remember seeing that dude. I don't know why I need to catch him, but I feel compelled to do so. Let's go ahead and push that. Okay, I want to catch this dino. I don't know why I need to, I just feel compelled to. And I really like this. I'll go back to Arnie Village and I will explain the visual technique that they used for making the water look animated. So let's go ahead and beat up some hippie dinos, some psychedelic dinos here. The color scheme of this area, this is part of the game that I remember very strongly. It's not just the environment, but the creatures themselves. They feel like they inhabit this world. It feels so vibrant and lived in, and it's such a pleasant visual experience. The composition on everything. Have a look. These artists, they understand the concept of breaking the line. So where the plane that we're fighting on isn't just a plane, you can see that it has some changes to its height along the edges. They've broken the line with this piece of geometry, and then they've broken that line with the terrain with this piece of coral, maybe? Oh man, this is really delightful to look at. We can see the tiling and the imperfections of the ground. They could have worked on that further and it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't change the overall experience. I think their goal here was enhancement over replacement, and replacement only when it's absolutely necessary. For example, you know, the battles and the menus and everything is where replacement is important. On-screen text, where the UI elements really need to be clear. I think that's probably an item that I need to get for somebody. Let's go ahead and head back to Arnie. There's probably some side questing I need to do. Have a look at the water effect movement there. Let's go ahead back to... Oh! Did you see the ripple effects as Oh, we gotta go back there. And the loading on this is snappy, man. I can only imagine on the PlayStation loading would have taken a bit longer. Oh, yeah! Oh, wow! Now, as a PlayStation game, that is impressive. You can see that I've stepped into the water. There is geometric data there, as the lower part of the character is occluded by the water, so there is some transparency. There's ripples, and this is such a great effect for a PlayStation era game. That is fantastic. You can see some minor imperfections as the ripples do extend into the terrain itself, but that's so excusable. You know, this effect would have been... They would have put in some serious effort to implement that on the PlayStation. Well, as you move, it generates more ripples. Whew. That's cool. My mind is sort of snapping back to that era when I was just a kid and appreciating the artwork that went into all of this. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. Now have a look at the water here. There is some imperfections with the dithering on the pixelation there. There's going to be imperfections. That's a little disappointing to see the dithering like that. But I can look past that because I can see all the work that they did do on everything else is just brilliant. Okay, let's... Oh, this is... See, I really enjoy small little details like this. This wind chime billowing in the wind, that is keyframe animated. There's no such thing as physics simulation in this era. It looks like they didn't add any. Wow! I'm just looking at all of the layering work that they've done in the environments. This basically was the pinnacle of this technology. Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, all of those games showed us how to start doing it, and this game takes it to a whole other level. Wow. Really fantastic there. Now have a look at the water. The water itself, as part of the environment, is not animated. There is another layer on top of that, and it is that layer that is animated. I believe that they have a quad, and the quad itself has a transparency to it, and the texture itself is semi-transparent, and I believe that they are just translating, they are changing the offset of the texture on that to animate that so it looks like rolling waves. So that is how they implemented that. Yeah, I'm 100% certain on that. So there actually isn't animation, so to speak. There is texture offset. And that is a brilliant way to do it. You can see the harshness of this canoe. So that's how you know that there is something behind it. There's a polygon behind. Lady, please, ma'am. Ooh, I like your little dinosaur friend though. Okay, I'm gonna walk over here. And the reason why they do that is because to actually animate the environments, I believe Final Fantasy VIII did it, it takes much more work and memory because you need to create multiple frames for that background, and if you don't have enough frames, it looks choppy. So you have to have enough frames of animation to where the background looks smooth, and that just adds to the file size, it adds to the memory consumption. Who knows what kind of memory leakage the PlayStation had? I don't recall a whole lot of crashing on the PlayStation, so memory management must have been, they must have had good control over it back then. Have a look at that rope as it extends into the water. You can actually see part of it does actually go beneath that animated wave layer. So it looks like that rope does extend into the water. Excellent attention to detail from the original artist and excellent work from the team that did this remaster. Let me talk to this lady. You know what's so funny to me? I don't care, lady. The trials and tribulations of your life mean nothing to me. I don't care. The color choices from the original team, I believe the developers that ported this understood that media on older technology looked different, right? Colors looked different on CRTs, color looked different on older gaming hardware because of the limited color depth that was available to developers. Look at these little insects flying around. Wow. This, oh man, I'm looking at all the work that they put into this to ensure that this looks right. They did so much work. They would have spent a lot of time making sure all of this looks correct. And it's, again, the exact opposite of Final Fantasy IX Remaster, where they spent no time at all. They did not put in any effort or care at all. Okay, what do you want from me, Daddy-o? Oh, that's so deep. I'm feeling existential dread as I read that. It feels deep. Oh man, this guy's giving me dread. Everything here represents my life. Oh man, I'm feeling hurt. I love my job and I'm happy with my current lifestyle and all, but lately I get to thinking when I see Kiki about how I could have had a different future. What if I'd chosen a different path 10 years ago? Dude, I don't need the existential dread right now, alright? I just want to talk about a video game for a little while. The you that might have been. That's time travel, baby. I don't want existential dread. Leave me alone. Oh, it's an amulet you made from a shark tooth 10 years ago. Nice. I'll take it. Sick. That's free stuff, baby. When do I get party members? I want more party members. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at Chrono Cross. I'm going to record a second episode because I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this very, very much. Okay. Thanks for checking in. Please look forward to the second episode in this series. If you want this to be a long-running series where we keep playing Chrono Cross and we keep discussing, we can keep talking about it, Maybe I'll play through the whole game and we can just talk about it. Let me know in the comments. Be well, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your year. It's almost 2026. I'll see you around. Hey, lady on the balcony. Such great attention to detail. This is so cool. I like this a lot.